Okay, we're still going. Oh dear. Oh. Oh, hi. Final Fantasy 12 sucks. It's just a terrible game. But the Zodiac Age, that's fire. I don't much care for Final Fantasy 12. I think that it has a good concept, but nothing came together with its initial release. But International Zodiac Job System version that finally had an international release as the Zodiac Age. Now that's good gaming right there. We bring back choosing your jobs, Final Fantasy 1 style. But with a little catch. When one party member chooses a job, no one else can choose it. It's locked onto that character permanently for the rest of the game. And so you gotta plan out how you're gonna play the Zodiac Age. You don't just sit down and be like, well, here's the jobs I'm gonna choose for this playthrough, like Final Fantasy 1. You want to think it out a little bit. Do I want to put White Mage on this character, just have White Mage for the early game? Do I want to have my Knight character later on have White Mage as their sub-job? Although, I guess that's the really cool thing about the Zodiac Age. You don't have a sub-job. You don't have a sub-class set of abilities. You are two jobs at once. If you have ever played a Final Fantasy game, especially Final Fantasy 11, and the prospect of having not a sub job, but having two entire jobs at your disposal worth of abilities and passives and gear choices, doesn't tickle a little something in you? Why you play this game series in the first place? The Zodiac Age rekindles that long-lost self-expression aspect that we only saw in Final Fantasy 1, 3, and 5. The ability to choose your own job freely and change it whenever you want. Finally, we have something akin to that again, but now it's put into this hardcore style mode where it's like you can only choose this job one time. There's 13 of them. You got 6 characters, and so you can choose most of the jobs, but how are you going to combine them? Which characters are going to be which 2 jobs? There's a whole mess of strategy and party planning, which licenses to get when this gear is available. It's definitely made for people who already played Final Fantasy 12, but it's equally as playable for anyone who hasn't before, and is also the better way to play the game in the first place. That is a sweet, sweet game, man. And my number one advice, if you're going to play this game, make Vaughn a monk. The character you start the game with, make him a monk. Go out into the desert with a bow staff and hit every single wolf 5 to 6 times. Combo them to death and take no damage. Farm JP to your heart's content as soon as the game starts. Just do it. And then, my favorite, Final Fantasy 4. Not just my favorite Final Fantasy, but my favorite game ever in terms of just the classic JRPG formula. Sure, there's other games that are maybe a little off kilter. Dragon Quarter, Panzer Dragoon Saga, Earthbound, Valkyrie Profile. I love all those games. But Final Fantasy IV, man. I am so drunk right now. Holy effing F. We gotta let some air in. Final Fantasy IV. I don't know, man. I can make a 7-hour long video about that game alone. But it suffices me to say that when I was really young, that game taught me how to read. I already knew how to read fairly well, but I didn't understand every word. So I played Final Fantasy IV with a dictionary. If I didn't understand what that word meant, I just looked it up. And I was like, oh, okay. That was a really important game for me. Not just in that sense, but the story of Dark Knight Cecil becoming a paladin. Something about that has resonated inside of me at such a deep, integral human level ever since I was young. I got a spittoon over here. That wasn't just this story of a Dark Knight becoming a paladin to me. You know, I grew up in a Christian household, Christian family, and I always tried to live my life as positively, as righteously as I myself was able to. But somewhere around 30, 35 years old, when you start to self-reflect on the things you've done in your life, sometimes you can see yourself as a little bit of a monster. Sometimes you question, how could I have done those things? What was I thinking? And like a fine wine, every time I go back to Final Fantasy IV, it only tastes better. It only continues to remind me why I'm grateful that this game shaped my life so much. And maybe it's not the best Final Fantasy game, but it is my favorite because I have so many memories attached to it. The best version is the Game Boy Advance version, by the way, because that's the one when you can get the Final Fantasy V style ultimate weapons on the extra dungeon on the moon. Get the Holy Claw, because in that version you can reform your party on the moon and have anyone in your party that you want. And probably gonna get some hate for saying this. Replace Rydia with Yang, or Yang if you're an American. Don't need Rydia. She takes too long to cast magic. All you need is Yang. Triple frontline party. It's just slug everything for 9,000 damage, because it's the perfect recreation of the Master Monk, long lost from previous Final Fantasies. Yang just breaks everything instantly. There's no charge time. You don't have to wait for Bahamut or Flare to be cast. He just attacks instantly for maximum damage. Rydia is useless. I said it. And oh man, I love like the absolute just Akira anime moment, that thing that happens with Edge's parents, where it's one of the only times in the game that there's like a narration thing. That doesn't happen very often. But this thing pops up and it's just like Edge's anger unlocked his true anime powers, and now he knows all the ninjutsu. And it's like, Oh, Rubicante. You're really about to get effed, bro. Oh, Edge is the best ninja in Final Fantasy history. Is just saying. There's not many of them, but he's still the best. Kane, best Dragoon of all time. Cecil, best Knight Paladin of all time. Rosa. Rosa's a white mage who can enact elemental weaknesses by using a bow. Oh, I don't have to cure anybody. I don't have to heal any status ailments. I guess I'll just deal 3,500 damage with my bow. Oops, I'm a healer in the back line, but I do the damage. Rosa's the best white mage. Come on, pretty much every single one of the jobs represented in Final Fantasy IV is the best character in the entire franchise related to that job. For crying out loud. Everything about Final Fantasy IV, to me, is perfect. It's the only Final Fantasy game that I've never grown tired of. Every single time I play through it, I just get excited and giddy to finally get a chance to go through it again. And again, maybe it's not perfect, but it's my favorite. There. Talked about as many Final Fantasy games as I could. That's all I got for you. I'm really tired, and it's like 103 degrees out here. Thanks for listening. Appreciate you. God bless. I'm out.